The grassroots of American oval racing begins at your local short track. Playing in the dirt for most kids means something completely different. But for those with racing in their blood, it means strapping in, flipping the ignition, and putting your right foot down. Tonight, we may first see one of our many rising stars here at Lanier as we get ready to watch round one of the CSI Shocks Fall Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Christian, fans who've only gone to Lanier Raceplex in real life recently might be looking at this track and feeling a little bit confused, but this is honestly a bit of a throwback because this place really did start out like this.
Yes, exactly. This was originally a dirt track, and when dirt came to iRacing, it took a little while, but we did eventually end up with a dirt version of this track, and I think a lot of people enjoy it. It's a really fun track. It's 0.38 mile, 5 to 11 degrees of banking, and yeah, it makes for a lot of great action, and I think it's been really well received. Now I'll hand back to you. You've got the race details for the night.
Absolutely, as this is the dirt style of racing, means if you're used to other different styles, it could be a little confusing. So let's lay it out for you with how things will go down out here as we glance at the driver standings there, looking for the race details here today. It is round 1 of 5, and they're running in the Dirt Midgets. They're going to be doing the Dirt Midgets all season, unlike what we saw in the spring here in the CSI series. It'll stick to one car. They have done fixed setups for these cars, however, so you don't have to worry about trying to set these cars up. Now, they have the top 12 in the qualifying that's taking part right now, automatically going to the A main, the feature race. From there, if you don't get into the top 12 in the qualifying, you will race among 2 heats at most to try and qualify for the A main, where they will carry over 3 cars from each heat. We're expecting only 1 heat today so far from the attendance that has shown up. And as qualifying starts to get laid down, looks like Logan Rumsey holds the provisional pole with Lauren Imig. Well, nope, make that Jonathan Schaefer jumping up to second.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be quite interesting for them with this Q session because the track's been reset. They obviously had about 15 minutes of running, and kind of does change up the line a lot with dirt. And I think what we're seeing here with it going all the way back to 0 is it's made life a little bit tricky for them when it comes to the qualifying.
Yeah, and the track will continue to change. They're not going to refresh it at all at any point tonight after this. So they'll have to deal with how it continues to get worn in. Here we see Corey Day coming around. He currently sits in second. His last lap is his quickest at a 13:09:03.
Yeah, one of our fastest practice drivers, Elvis Rankin, has only ran a 14:1 so far.
And his last lap's not going to be an improvement, so he'll stay in 13th. I see Randy Hannigan also just getting his first times in. They've got 5 minutes to set 3 laps. It is your fastest lap that counts for your qualifying position. And as he comes around to take a time down, let's see what he's got underneath him. A 14:211. That is going to be good enough for 15th, just below Elvis by a couple positions. We'll get 2 more times around here to try. Seeing a lot of drivers here in qualifying still riding that low line with it being a pretty fresh track, Christian.
Yeah, and this is a really difficult car to drive at the best of times, and especially throwing them in there with a completely fresh track. I'm not too surprised that we see a lot of guys running down on the bottom, but it is difficult to kind of get this thing to set and get it around the track.
Looks like the last lap, not an improvement. 14:039 going to be the quickest, but that is good enough for 5th for Hannigan. That jumps him way far up the order. Just a couple more that are getting their times in. I see Rupert out there. His first lap, good enough for 18th, and I think he's the only one out there now as everybody else has left the track. So let's see what the number 5 can do as he comes across for the second time. It's a 14:215. That's a little bit quicker, and that jumps him to 16th now. Last time around now for Chris Rupert with 1.5 minutes left to go. We still have time for the last drivers to go if they want. It is not quicker, so he stays in 16th. I think that actually might be everybody of our 20 drivers who look like they're going to be taking part today. That means we have our 12 drivers who are set for the A main. Let's give you those who we will see a little bit later in this event today. Up on the pole, it is going to be Logan Rumsey with Corey Day, who will be starting in second position. Jonathan Schaefer will be in third with Lauren Immig starting P4. Then you've got Randy Hannigan starting in fifth position and Jeff Barnes in sixth. What's the latter half of those 12 looking like there, Christian?
Well, we've got Brenton Gray in seventh, Lincoln Smith in eighth, Bryce Lucius in ninth, Parker Leak in 10th. And then we've got our last two to make it through in the automatic through to the A main drivers, Connor Wolf and Grayson Springer.
And a reminder that this is the 14 and under series that they are racing here tonight. If you're watching last night, that was the 15 and over series. So these are the young guns that you're seeing competing, looking to come up. Some of them actually racing in real life out there on the dirt. First, though, I do believe we have our qualifying details that we have ready to go over here. And, of course, the qualifying details are brought to you by PitLogic. PitLogic is the most comprehensive chassis and shock setup application on the market, available on Google Play or the Apple App Store. Check them out at competitionsuspension.com/CSI-logic-app. Grid is now set, so let's go through our starting order here for our first heat. And our only heat, it looks like. Colin Mitchell is going to be starting in first. Elvis Rankin, still pretty fast out there, even though he wasn't quick enough to get into the main. He'll start second with Eddie Hartley in P3. Michael Sampson will be starting in fourth, and fifth is rounded out by Chris Rupert. Christian.
And then we have Cale Coons in sixth, Nolan Mitchell in seventh, Reed Whitney in eighth, and Samuel Johnson is not racing. He is the admin tonight.
You'll see him regularly. He is not going to be racing in this series. He will always be our admin out there. We've got 8 cars that are going to be taking part, and you can see the truck now ready to take them around on the 2 pace laps. Once again, the track has carried over in condition from the qualifying. They have not refreshed it, so the drivers who are out there in qualifying will be familiar with how it was feeling, but only for a couple laps. How are you expecting this start to be? Because from what we saw in last night's race, it certainly looked like drivers were fanning out a lot early in the races, Christian.
Yeah, and I think with 15 laps, you've kind of really got to go, especially if you're one of the guys towards the back of this group. And if there's, I think it's more about how do I say this? Driving where somebody else isn't to make sure that you can keep your speed up, rather than it is to necessarily be on the preferred line. And especially if you're one of those guys starting right at the back, say Reed Whitney, you might want to try just going to a completely different line and maybe get a run off a corner and just kind of work things out that way. The guy that intrigues me in this race is Elvis Rankin, because we have that invert of the entire field, and he was one of the quickest in practice, so I'm wondering if he's maybe just trying to get through via a heat to invert himself up to the front of the field.
Could be. There you see the PitLogic heat details for this race on your screen, but we're getting ready to go racing. Green flag is out. Colin Mitchell down on the low side, trying to make sure he holds on to that top spot. Rankin going for the over-under. Doesn't quite work out behind them. A little bit of touching between Coons and Sampson. Otherwise, it's a clean start. Everybody back around to complete the first lap, Christian, and they're looking relatively single file.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's gone right down to the bottom on the wall, and it's not too surprising with it being still quite a fresh track. I think in the heat, as it gets tore up a bit more, we'll see guys kind of migrating to the middle. See fourth place already, trying to get the top side to work just a little bit there.
That's Eddie Hartley in the number 19 up on the high side. Oh, a little bit of a touch between himself and Rupert. That's going to gift him third place now as they come around to complete lap 3. Hartley now sizes up Elvis Rankin, who's kept his eyes on the leader, Colin Mitchell, now for a couple laps, but is falling back. It's about half a second between himself and the leader. Already under attack. Hartley clearly has a good car here.
Yeah, Hartley made quick work in getting into third, and that little bit of contact there actually looked like it helped him out a touch. It opened up a bit of a gap for him, and now he looks like he's going to be safely through with 10 laps to go as he comes to the line here, but maybe he wants that second place and maybe even this heat win.
Cale Coons, unfortunately, already out of this race. He's taken it down to pit lanes. We have 7 left out on the track, with Mitchell being the last one. They're coming up on Nolan Mitchell very quickly, so we could have lap traffic in this 15-lap race. There are no cautions to slow things up and bunch the field up. As Colin Mitchell continues to lead the way, Rankin continues to see Hartley close in the corners, but fail to get a good exit. He drops away on the straight line.
Yeah, Hartley's really driving in the corners, and he was diamonding 3 and 4 quite a lot there, and you just see it didn't really help him so much on the exit, but he does gain a lot on the entry, and maybe if he can just get to Rankin's door, that he'll be able to force him up a little bit there.
Already down to 7 laps to go, halfway through this heat race that'll decide who gets to advance. Again, the top 3 will go through right now. That is Mitchell, Rankin, and Hartley. Hartley, ever since he got past Rupert, has not been under threat from the number 5. But the closest fight in the pack has been between Rankin and Hartley sending it in deep once again, almost getting into the left rear of Elvis Rankin this time.
Yeah, and then Hartley's in an interesting predicament here, because he looked like he was quite safe for that transfer spot, but if he keeps getting held up by Rankin, then he's definitely going to be under threat in the last couple of laps. But at the same time, does he really want to pass him? Because right now he'll invert straight to the pole of the main.
Down and through 1 and 2 once again. Elvis Rankin having just a mirror full of Eddie Hartley right now. They come across the line once more time. I'm kind of with you, but again, he doesn't want to risk losing out potentially if he makes a mistake. If Rupert suddenly finds speed here in the final couple laps, he could still find himself not in the big show. Up at the front, though, it is definitely on for Colin Mitchell, leading the way with now 2 laps to go.
Yeah, Mitchell's looking really solid. He looks like he's definitely going to advance right now, and that's the thing. But if Hartley goes for the pass on Rankin and he makes contact, he might lose the advance completely.
Final lap as the white flag waves. Still a very close fight between Rankin and Hartley. Finally backs off to give him room. Up in front of them, Mitchell's going to win the heat race today. First place for him, second going to Rankin, and third, Hartley, your last driver who will be able to advance through. The remaining drivers will not make it to the feature race today, unfortunately.
Rupert gave it a great try right there. He nearly got all the way up alongside Hartley in the 3, but didn't quite make it.
Now let's go over what the main race will itself have in it, which is sponsored by CSI. CSI has become the shock of choice for many of today's top professionals. They have won over 5,000 races, as well as many track, regional, and national championships around the world. You can find them at www.competitionsuspension.com. Just as the warm-up gets going, you can see 40 laps for this one, fixed setup still, and they do have yellow flags, full course cautions on this one, so it can get slowed up and packed back together.
Yeah, and that's definitely an interesting dynamic that you don't have in the heats, and we have seen that with caution laps counting under the iRacing system, it can mean that races wind down very quickly.
And it looks like they will have all 18 drivers here in the main. So apologies for the misinformation there. We shouldn't have anybody out, and we should get all the drivers competing for the overall win. So that was good information, though. I have to imagine, Christian, that those drivers who qualified through were probably watching and keeping an eye on how things were unfolded, because now they're hopping back onto the track to a track they're not used to.
Yeah, that's definitely right, and that's actually, it sounds strange to say, but somewhat of an advantage of having to go through those heats, especially in a scenario where the track gets reset and works in a bit differently than maybe it did in practice. And we've seen in other series where that's definitely been a big factor, and guys who've gone through the heats have actually come in to the main and performed better than the guys who qualified straight through.
Dirt racing, all about your knowledge of the track, how to read it, and then, of course, adapt to that here in the warm-up, which doesn't always mean everything, but is something to give us a hint of how things will unfold. Jonathan Schaefer sitting at the top of the sheets. Colin Mitchell, who won the heat, is certainly applying his knowledge as he's in second right now.
Colin Mitchell didn't qualify quite so good, but he does have that knowledge of that extra heat, and he ran really good there, so he's definitely going to be one to watch.
And one other thing we should note, there is an incident limit in this race, 17 incident limit, which means if you have car contact, if you spin, if you hit the wall, you rack up incidents, get 17 of those, and you will automatically be disqualified by the software. So drivers do need to be clean. We saw someone actually get disqualified last night. I believe it was in the feature, one of our drivers unfortunately disappearing into the ether in the midst of the race. So it's not impossible to do. These are pretty hardy cars as well. They can bang against each other, can't they, Christian?
Yeah, these cars are pretty sturdy, and honestly, the biggest thing with contact with them is, with them being so small and short, it usually loops you around if you do have contact. So while you'll likely still be able to keep going, you're almost certainly going to lose all your track position if you are involved in an incident.
Just about a minute and a half left here. And they are fighting for some interesting stuff. They've got 3 different prizes for the podium at the end of the season. The winner of the championship overall gets a Samsung tablet with PitLogic put onto it and a $500 shock package discount. That all comes out to about a $750 value. Second place is going to get a CSI apparel gift pack and a $250 shock package discount. That counts up to about $350 in value. Third is going to get a CSI apparel gift pack and a $100 shock package discount to a value of $150 here today. I don't know about you, Christian, but back when I was about 13, 14 years old, that would be that's a nice chunk of change to me.
Yeah, there's definitely some great prizes for this series, and it's almost certainly going to bring out some really stiff racing to get those prizes. And yeah, I mean, I was never competing for anything like that.
So we watch Bryce Lucius currently down in 11th. You can start to see the cushion build up around the middle line. Drivers on that low line are slicking it up with rubber. Most of them still running down low here in the warm-up, so it doesn't look like it's moved quite up the track as high as you may have anticipated at this point. Just a few seconds left, and then we'll get the warm-up laps. The pace laps will go over the grid. We'll go racing for 40 laps around Lanier Speedway, the dirt version of this track. The checkered flag now comes out. Schaefer did wind up the top of the charts here in that warm-up with Mitchell still behind him. Eddie Hartley actually in third, so carrying his speed over. Let's go over that starting grid. It is going to be Jet Barnes, who is on the pole with Randy Hannigan starting in second position. Then it's Lauren Immig in third place. Jonathan Schaefer starts P4. Corey Day in the 5th spot. Logan Rumsey will be on the outside of row 3 and 6 with Brenton Gray starting in 7th position. Lincoln Smith starts in 8th tonight. Bryce Lucius in the 9th spot. And Parker Leak rounds out your top 10.
And in 11th, we've got Connor Wolf and Grayson Springer. They was last of the qualifying in drivers. And then Colin Mitchell, heat winner, starting 13th with Elvis Rankin alongside him in 14th. Eddie Hartley and Chris Rupert, we saw them have a good battle. They're starting 15th and 16th. And then Michael Sampson and Reed Whitney bringing up the rear of the field.
Pace truck already taking off as our midgets now start off behind them. Again, 2 pace laps here. And a 40-lap race that we'll be running for today. They're getting some information from the race stewards right now, making sure that everybody understands how the behavior is expected. They do, even though this is the 14 and under, they do have very strict guidelines, and they want these drivers to behave and be as mature as possible out there because, again, there's a lot of prizes on the line. And a lot is expected of them, especially with the talent they've been showing. Truck is now in. Jet Barnes gets on the accelerator. They are off, and we are racing here for the A-main. Out, down, and around turns 1 and 2. Jet Barnes holding on to that lead very well. Hannigan almost losing second place, but carrying the shot off the corner. Everybody fanning out, looking for position, looking for a way around, and it's right now a battle for it looks like third place mostly.
Yeah, we got a lot of guys just trying to find out where there's some grip. There's a lot of slick. We've got one car around on the backstretch.
Yep, caution already out. That is Parker Leak. He was having a little bit of contact there through 1 and 2 on lap 2. That was, looks like that was with Lincoln Smith if we look at the replay here. That's number 1 of Leak. Just a little bit of side-to-side contact, and wow, whoa, most of the damage came from cars getting into him afterwards, it seems.
Yeah, and this thing's very, very difficult to drive at the best of times on its own. So with everybody spread out like that and coming off the corners 3 wide and more, it's really difficult to avoid something like that happening right in front of you. So unfortunately, it looked like he just got a minor incident turned into quite a large one as he was collected by more cars from behind.
Unfortunate to see, and you could tell that the laps are still pretty low around here now as they line up behind that pace truck. Only now hitting lap 5, so still a long ways to go. And I think they're already doubling up, getting ready to go green. Yes, indeed they are. Lights are off. Your leader still Jet Barnes, with second place still being held by Hannigan. Logan Rumsey is now in the 3rd position with Schaefer up on his high side in row 2. Getting them nice and tightly packed up, waiting for the green flag. Green flag is out. Oh, contact between the leaders, as that was a great run at the start. Oh, and already a caution.
It looks like it's really difficult for these guys to get restarted. There's a lot of slick right in the middle of 3 and 4, and some of the guys are having to get on the throttle through that.
I think that was Springer who caused the caution. Oh, he's going to catch the wall, you'll see. And he gets turned over by, I think that was the number 5. Yeah, that was Chris Rupert who ran into him. This is onboard Springer. He's going to get turned over. Ow. Don't want to touch that outside wall.
It's definitely something to watch out for, especially in anything open wheel. Tires have a tendency to kind of drive up the wall when you do that.
2 quick cautions in succession. So driver's going to have to clean things up a little bit. Once again, they're very quickly getting lined up. The nice thing about these short tracks is the cautions do not last very long because they're already doubled up and the lights are already off. Going to restart on lap 10 now. So quarter of the way through this race. Let's get some green flag racing out here for round 1 of the CSI Fall Series. Once again, packing up. Hannigan looking for that good shot on the high side. He might just get it again. And a little bit of contact down low between 1st and 3rd. I think that was Rumsey. Yes, that was Rumsey. In fact, Rumsey falling all the way down to the back from getting tipped around there. He is just getting gobbled up. So up at the front, it is no dramas for our leaders, but clearly the 3rd place driver not having a good day here on lap 11.
Yeah, and Jet Barnes looked like he really struggled to get going on that bottom with that slick down there, and he's lost a lot of spots.
The new leader is Hannigan. Schaefer now in 2nd place. Barnes in 3rd. He was a little bit under attack from Corey Day, who runs in 4th. We saw him racing last season. We got a caution again. I think it's Hartley, maybe, potentially.
Yeah, we had a tangle on the backstretch. Again, it looked like just 2 cars meeting on the corner exit and creating a problem with locking wheels on the backstretch.
Hartley might actually be able to keep going. He takes quite a tumble, lands on all 4, and then just drives off like nothing happened and runs in 16th position. Incredibly, we still have 17 drivers running.
Yeah, these cars are very resilient. We're seeing quite a lot of spectacular accidents right now, but they really are quite strong, and they will tolerate it.
Hartley is going to come in. They have a fast repair waiting for them. They have a spare car if they do get too much damage so they can get back out. Looks like Hartley should still be able to return. Grayson Springer is back out after being in. I think he has probably taken his free repair. We've lost Parker Leak, unfortunately.
Yeah, Grayson Springer is actually running 5 laps down right now. Still out there, but we're still a long way back.
All right, double file once more. Got a little bit more green flag racing that time. A lot of action. Unfortunately for Rumsey, he's going to restart well down the order in 9th position, but green flag is out. Let's see if he can make it back up this time around as Hannigan leads them down into 1. Schaefer following him through a little bit of 3 wide for second place. Everybody trying to find a spot. A lot of bumping and banging. No caution, though, as everybody manages to keep it pointed forward.
Yeah, it looked like Hannigan, he started a lot higher up the track than Jet Barnes did on the previous restart and got away much better.
Jet Barnes running up high. Got a caution again. Connor D. Wolf. He's the one turned around this time. Looks like he was actually the recipient of this one. It started trying to find the driver with Colin Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell was the one you saw sideways. And it was Logan Rumsey who actually got into him.
Yeah, and a lot of this looks like it is all coming from that that slick line that's building up on the bottom. There is still some grip right down by the wall, but you have to be so precise to be in that lane and make it work that it looks like a lot of guys are just struggling and they're ending up in that slick and it's kicking them sideways, and right in the middle of the pack, there's immediately a car behind who pretty much collects you as soon as that happens.
I'll be honest, Christian, I did hop in the car to drive at this track just to see what it was like, and I tried it with a bit of a slick line in, and I couldn't even get it down to the bottom wall. I couldn't find that line. How do you even get that car down there?
This thing is so difficult to drive. I honestly think this is one of, if not the hardest car on iRacing to drive. It's so sensitive to any kind of throttle input and any kind of track change, so you really got to be in the right place on the track.
Hannigan leading the way on the restart once more. A little bit of a battle between himself and Schaefer up on the high side. They're awful close together. A little bit of a tip to shove him out of the way, and Hannigan retakes the lead once again. Down low, who is that with the slide job? That was Corey Day, and he gets into contact with more leaders as another car gets into him, and this is a big one.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive move, and it looked like for a moment he was just going to pull it off, but he didn't quite get up the racetrack in time and just got collected and sent around.
And that actually sent Hannigan to the back of the field. He was the initial one that caused the caution with Day. And then Day continued on, finding just about everybody running into his vehicle. God, I couldn't even list them. There's a lot that managed to make contact.
It was a bit of an interesting decision there by the iRacing caution logic. Well, it looks like Corey actually profited from that and is going to be restarting second.
I hope he doesn't have too much damage though, because he got hit on pretty much every corner of that car. And he's going to find out soon enough. He had a little bit of time there to catch the pace car to see how it was handling, but not fully in anger. They now get double file out here. And you can see him trying to test out the car through 1 and 2 just to see how it drives. We'll find out fully here in just a moment as we get ready to go green. This time it is Jet Barnes back up at the front. Bit of a messy start as a few drivers try to jump it, but they have to back out of it. Way up on the high side, Corey Day almost brushing the wall as he tries to find the pace and all of the muck and mire, and he comes together again. Another caution.
The restarts are they're really wild here, and I think a lot of that is definitely coming from the slick lines and guys trying, and we saw Day right there running right up on the wall, got a huge run on exit, but just wasn't the space.
That was Schaefer that he got into down low. We also had Lauren Imig into the wall in a completely separate incident.
There he's right up on the wall, and it looked like maybe he just got into it a little bit and came down and got into the 91.
Everyone else did a pretty good job trying to avoid that for what it's worth. We come back live now. The laps are ticking down very quickly. Only have 13 left to go this time at the line. I think we should get double file as well.
I almost think the quick cautions of Dirt are actually contributing to some of the wildness here. The guys they're almost still forming up by the time the green comes out.
I'm sure the red mist still being down as well doesn't help, as everybody probably a little bit antsy after the initial incident. Need to get themselves a little bit cooled down out there. See if they can get some green flag racing. Let's see if we can go all the way to the checkers from here. Jet Barnes with control of the field. Green flag is out. Almost 3 wide down at the start to the inside. Is that Day up at the front? No, that's Rumsey back to the front. He's climbed his way back forward, and he's taken it cleanly, but down to the inside. Looking for another 3 wide situation. That is Jet Barnes who gets collected, and almost the entire field runs into them.
Yeah, it was a really good restart by Ramsey there. He had a huge run off of 4 and was just able to drive all the way down to the bottom and clear himself for the lead. But looked a bit messy there in 3 and 4 with Jet Barnes, just a little bit of contact, and yeah, everybody piled in.
Lincoln Smith was the one that drifted up from the very lowest line and got into Barnes. He also touched Rumsey a little bit. Rumsey really got away lucky on this one. Trying to see if anybody really managed to get through fully clean after the incident. I think Corey Day maybe did? Wow, actually, yeah, Corey Day picked a miraculous line. Wonder if we could get an onboard with him. See what it looks like from his perspective. On the restart. Now watch him go low here, Christian.
And you can see it unfolding in front of him, and he just goes all the way down to the wall and just clears everybody as everybody's stacking up above him.
Interestingly, it doesn't get him too many positions. He's still only in 8th spot as we're back live once again. We're going to be 8 to go as we get restarted once more. Drivers are getting really heated out there. There are some brave moves being made as the green flag comes out, and it's Logan Rumsey this time up at the front. Down into 1 and 2. This is looking a little bit more orderly down through the corner. Oh, but then they start to pack up once again, almost getting 4 wide at one point. Everybody picking different lines. Someone goes around. That was Eddie Hartley, and he is on his lid. Another caution out. Looks like there's just a bit of a checkup above him. He got caught and turned by someone. He then hit Brenton Gray, and Grayson Springer, with nowhere to go, found himself piling in.
Yeah, it looks like being in the mid-pack is really dangerous right now. Just it doesn't filter itself out in the same way as the guys at the front are managing to do. Getting even double file. We see they're 3 and sometimes even 4 wide, and just a slight mistake causes a little bit of a stack up, and inevitably someone further back gets caught out by it.
This order has been like throwing names in a can and shaking it, so let's update you real quick if you haven't been watching the tower to the left. Rumsey is leading. Mitchell is in 2nd. Schaefer's 3rd. Day is actually still up to 4th. And Lauren Immig is in P5 right now. We're going to be double file once more. I think, let's see, if we get one more caution, I do believe that will end it. We have no green-white checkers in this series.
Looks like we'll be going green on lap 38. So yeah, if we do have another yellow, that will be the end.
All right, can Rumsey bring it home? Drivers are going to be itching to try and take that top spot away and get a run on him. Green flag is out. He's looking pretty solid down low. That's Schaefer looking to the inside. Mitchell running the high side, trying to see if he can get the run off the corner, but his momentum is interrupted by Schaefer as they come around to take 2 laps to go here. Rumsey still your leader. Schaefer in 2nd. Mitchell runs 3rd. Corey Day also running way up all the way to the wall, seeing if he could get something out of this car. Cuts it down low. Diving off the corner. Might be able to get 3rd place off of Mitchell. And I think he just might have it, but Mitchell looking for the reverse move on him. It doesn't pan out. White flag wins today here for round 1 at Lanier.
It's some really great driving by Corey Day to use the top. He's one of the few drivers there to actually make the top work and comes home 3rd.
Schaefer follows him home for 2nd. Mitchell gets demoted to 4th there in that final restart. We're going to come back, though, in a little bit here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, but stick around. You'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC on your screen. Welcome back here on Lanier Raceplex. We just watched round 1 of the CSI Shocks Fall Series, and boy, it was a wild one out there, but some good racing in the final few laps gave us our order. We're going to go by the official iRacing order, I believe, here, as we do have a bit of discrepancy, so we'll try and correct that if we see it. Logan Rumsey is your winner, with Jonathan Schaefer finishing in second. Then in third, it was Corey Day rounding out your podium. How about Colin Mitchell? Started 13th on the grid in that main feature, and he finished in fourth. Lauren Immig finished in P5 today. Then it's Bryce Lucius in the 6th position. Another big climb for Chris Rupert from 16th to 7th, though he finished a lap down. Lincoln Smith was 8th today, and Jet Barnes, unfortunately, was 9th, even though he led for a while. Eddie Hartley rounds out your top 10.
Then we had Reed Whitney started last in 18th and came home 11th. Brenton Gray came home 12th after starting 7th. Michael Sampson started 17th and came home 13th, but 12 laps down. Randy Hannigan, we saw him feature at the front of the race for a long time. Started second, but came home 14th. Grayson Springer came home 15th. Elvis Rankin featured in our heat race quite significantly. Comes home 16th. Connor Wolf 17th, and Parker Leakin 18th.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us here. Logan Rumsey joins us in the booth. Logan, fantastic run. I have to admit, we didn't really count you as a potential winner about halfway through the race when we saw you fall down the order. What was going through your mind when suddenly you saw just a string of cars blow by?
Yeah, I was pretty quick at the start, and then me and Colin Mitchell made contact off of turn 2. I just couldn't gather it back up, fell back to like 12th or whatever. And yeah, they were kind of all over the track, but it's like the first league. But yeah, I just drove it back up to the field and missed the wrecks and got it done.
Drove it incredibly well. With all the cautions, that had to have meant some pretty aggressive moves. Were you just all out trying to grasp as much as you could anytime you had some green flag racing?
Yeah, you really had to go on the restarts or else they would pull away on a one-lane track. So that's how I got the lead. I just went on the restart and threw a slide job.
Fantastic stuff. We understand that you actually do some real-world racing. Do you race any of these midgets, or what sort of car do you hop into?
I run a 600 micro.
Fantastic stuff. What's your local short track out there? Do you have a home track for yourself?
Not really. We just run like every track in PA that's around.
Well, that certainly has got to be fun hopping around, because the dirt track racing scene out there certainly seems to be pretty active. Congratulations on a victory in round 1. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you more down the line. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this win?
Yeah, I want to thank all of my teammates for like practicing this week, and Aiden Purdue for spotting me and just talking in Discord as we were racing. That's about it.
Certainly seemed to help you too. A well-earned victory today. That was Logan Rumsey, our winner. And I'm checking to see if we'll have anybody else coming. I'm not seeing anybody in our waiting room right now, so I do believe we'll get to wrap it up here. So round 1 is over. Not too many more to go, as it is a short season, but we'll keep you up to date on those as they come to us. But we do want to thank a few people before we wrap up here, starting with CSI Shocks. Again, if you want to check them out, they are the official sponsor of this series. They can be located online at competitionsuspension.com. Also, if you are a racer in real life and you need some help with data, try PitLogic. Competitionsuspension.com/CSI-logic-app is where you can go and find that app and see if you can get a little bit faster on track with a little bit of numbers in your hands. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Limaland, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Christian, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find that and a link to our merchandise store at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to subscribe to our channel, we'd really appreciate it. All you got to do so is go to our YouTube page, or just right below this video on YouTube itself, there should be a big red button that says subscribe. Click that. You won't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next round is going to be at Limaland, and that is for both series, the over 15 series and the under 14 series. The older boys will be running in on Tuesday, and then, of course, the younger drivers will be running tonight on Wednesday next week. So that'll be Tuesday, November 26th, and Wednesday, November 27th. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.